Hi, Praveen. Thanks so much for being on the podcast. I really appreciate you being here. Do you want to just take a second to introduce yourself as well as the topic we'll be talking about today?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Praveen. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, and I'm a first year at Harvard College. It's probably going to study econ and something else to be determined. And I think today we're just going to be talking about the transition to college in an academic sense. So I guess differences from high school as well as what I'm learning exactly in the classroom.
Yeah, perfect. Let's get into it. So, since you're first year, I'm sure the memory of going to college for the first time is still relatively sharp, or at least sharper than it is for me. So, walk us through a bit how you were feeling emotionally transitioning from life at home to life at college.
Yeah, so obviously for everyone it's a little bit different, transitioning away from home, leaving, moving, all the emotions associated with it. But for me, I think it was a little bit hard. I didn't anticipate missing my parents as much as I did. I definitely enjoy their company and their presence, and it just makes you treasure those moments like Thanksgiving dinners or Christmas celebrations together even more. And I really think that in particular when it came to transitioning to college, the first like month or two for me at least were just a little bit hard in the sense of I'm in like a completely new place that I'm not really used to, and then I'm also like don't really know anybody. So that first like month or two or even three for me really was just about finding friends and building a community around me. And honestly, that sort of started in with my interests and my classes. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So getting right into it, what classes did you take last semester and what were the ones that you liked more? What were ones like you just liked more? Just give us the range.
Yeah. So my first semester, I took four classes. I took intro to economics. I took computer science. And then I also took a writing seminar, which was about building cities and urban development. And also the last class that I took was a math class. Sorry.
Got you, got you. And which ones did you prefer? Which ones were a bit lower on the preferences?
Yeah, so I think that for me, I really liked my math class as well as my seminar class, just because both I felt like the work I was doing, I was really both proud of, and I sort of had more of an enjoyment doing. And then I also enjoyed econ, and then computer science, not so much. It was kind of just, oh, I have to code this, I have to go do this project. So I guess I sort of found out, I guess, my interests.
And do you still have to take more econ and comp sci classes or like, oh, I guess we'll get into that. But I guess for econ, I assume you'll have to take more if you're gonna major in it, right?
Yeah, so I'm going to be taking more econ classes for sure, and computer science, I guess TBD, but we'll see about that.
Okay, well, I hope you enjoy them more as they go on. But I remember with the math point, like you also were pretty involved with like math stuff in high school, right?
Yeah, so math was definitely a focal point of my curriculum in high school, and I just wanted to take one more, maybe a couple more even in college just to see the differences. And honestly, they were pretty different the way that they were taught. So my math class here, it was just really the teacher gave us a worksheet, and then we would work in small groups, and then we would come together at the end and sort of discuss our way through the worksheet and how we figured it out. Whereas in high school, it feels like they're just writing down concepts for you and then you have to like recite it. So like in high school at least, and obviously math departments everywhere differ, but it felt like it was a more rigid curriculum, like not much leeway for sort of you choosing your own path. Whereas in college, like, okay, I want to do this class, this math class, learn this topic, and like you sort of like choose your own adventure, I guess.
Got it, got it. Okay, so like would you potentially want to major in math or do you think it's more of a just an interest for now?
Uh I think it's just an interest for me, but anything's possible.
Yes, and with the city design class, can you talk a bit more about how that was structured and what you felt like you were getting out of it?
Yeah, so that was actually my favorite class last semester. So the way it was structured is it was essentially like what at Harvard we call freshman seminars, which is one professor and a group of 15 students who sort of talk about like a specific topic as well as really engage with the material at hand. So what we did was we talked about urban development, real estate, and how businesses can actually get involved to businesses connect and get involved, work with governments, and improve like the status of our cities. So this involved field trips to places like the Arboretum in Boston, as well as a really cool place called the Seaport District. So this is actually my favorite field trip during the semester. So we went on a school bus, just like third grade, went to the Seaport District, which is sort of in the east part of Boston, and really did a deep dive there. So I guess a little bit of background for, I guess, anyone who doesn't know, but the Seaport is a district in Boston that is currently being rebuilt and reinvested into. And the person who we actually met with was the architect behind the entire district. So he was in charge of basically approving all of the buildings, businesses, as well as creating a community where people can live, work, and eat in. And sort of we got a behind the scenes tour of how everything was taking place, how important like multi-million-dollar decisions were made. And then he just asked for like critical feedback or ways in which the district could improve to serve everyone's needs better. And it was just really eye-opening, and it was a really awesome opportunity to learn from an expert in the field who's actually applying his knowledge to create a difference in our community. So I really think that for me, that was like the most transformational experience I had in the first semester, just going and seeing like a real live project and being able to witness like, wow, there's like billions of dollars of investment around me, and I'm like being a part of it, I guess, in a sense.
Yeah. Is that something you might want to do in the future then? Like, have you thought about how you might want to reinvest in other areas of either Boston or like other places? But I was just curious, like, obviously it was a great experience, but did that influence at all like something for you to consider like down the road?
Yeah, so during that class, we also discussed cases in India, Mexico, as well as other parts of the US like Miami and Washington, D.C. And it was just really awesome to see like how different places around the world are adapting to the 21st century, whether it be like the rise in tech, as well as I guess when we're seeing with climate change now, how different cities are sort of adapting to become more immune to the changes in our environment. And I definitely think it's something that has piqued my interest. And this semester, I'm looking to do some research with a professor at the business school about sort of cities and how they're adapting in the 21st century. So we'll see on that. But it's definitely changed my path a little bit in the sense I'm definitely more interested in real estate, finance, and that type of studies.
Nice, good, good, good. And I'm sure a lot of people are curious about like the difficulty of classes at Harvard. I know you only have one full semester under your belt, but like obviously you'll have a lot more. I'm sure you've had a lot of conversations about it with people there. So just if you could like sum up the vibes there, what would you say are like the classes like, and is it as hard as some people probably are envisioning, especially some rising high school seniors?
Yeah, for sure. So there's this like, I guess I don't want to say myth or like rumor or whatever that Harvard classes are easy and they're grade inflated and you get good grades for no matter what. I don't think that's true. Um, I will say that it really depends on what classes or area of study that you're undertaking, but I'm gonna say you get in what you put in, and you get out what you put in. So if you take like harder classes, then the material is going to be harder and you will end up getting more out of it. So I think that for me, what that sort of meant is I've tried to take a balanced schedule where like maybe a couple of my classes are a lot harder and a couple of them are like more laid back so that I can really dive into areas that I care about while at the same time having like fallbacks where I can just learn some cool material. And I really think that in the coming years, I want to take some harder classes, and I do eventually my senior year want to write a thesis, but that's for later down the road. But I guess just to answer your question more directly, I'd say that they're challenging, but if you work hard, then you'll do well.
Got it. And how do you feel like your learning habits have changed from high school to college? Like, how do you feel like you have adapted to, just be a better learner and make your schedules like work better for you in college?
Mm-hmm. So one thing that I've done both semesters so far is I've tried my best, and I have successfully so far scheduled both of them in a way that I have one day during the week where I have no classes. So last semester that was Thursday, this semester that's Friday. So I have 3-day weekends, which is really awesome. And you should try to do that for sure. But obviously it's not possible in all cases. But I've tried allocating my time in like different ways. So one thing that you'll notice is between high school and college, you'll just have so much more time. And I think I struggled with this actually the first month or two in the sense where I was like wasting 3, 4 hour stretches just doing absolutely nothing. And it sort of took some time to be like, okay, you need to start focusing and not wasting time, so that I'd find myself some days just staying up till 1 a.m. trying to finish work when I had like 3 or 4 hours during the day to actually finish it. And I sort of got better at this towards the end of the semester, still a work in progress, but I started budgeting my time a lot better and working towards finishing things like assignments, problem sets, projects throughout the day, and sort of holding myself accountable so that I wouldn't be rushed up against a clock and trying to finish everything last minute, which obviously won't produce the best work.
Right. No, I'm glad that you're going through that. I think that's something like everyone has to learn, and it's never, I think, an endpoint. Like I think you always kind of go in cycles, like up and down, but definitely sounds very, very college-like how you're describing it. And I was also curious with this semester, do you want to talk a bit about what classes you're taking now and how that might be different from what you were taking last semester?
Yeah, of course. So this semester I'm taking 5 classes. So I'm taking a Spanish class to fulfill the language requirement. And then I'm also doing a writing class, which is mandatory by the college. And then I'm doing an intro econ class, which is the second part. And then another econ class, which is about using like big data to solve some of society's most pressing social problems. And then a last class about artificial intelligence. So I guess a good mix of classes, not as much like math and computer science as last semester, but still a good deal of filling out requirements and also taking classes that I'm interested in.
Good, good. And I was curious, like either last semester or this semester, what have been the points where you feel like you've struggled the most? Like I know you talked about like sometimes having to stay up to do work, but any times where you felt like your academics weren't going as well as you wanted to and how you were dealing with that?
Um, that's a great question. And I think that for me, around midterm time, it definitely became a bit of a struggle. Not because like the material itself was hard, but because there was just like a lot to study. And I sort of made the mistake last semester of kind of pressing myself against a wall and just doing everything a little bit last minute. And I ended up doing fine on everything, but it was just like those couple of days before the actual exams were just like I was in the library till like 2, 3 a.m. every day, getting up at still at like 7 just to go, okay, unit by unit, what notes do I need to take? What specific knowledge do I need to know? So like it was just that sort of struggle. And I think this semester I've already sort of started to start studying earlier. Definitely recap material, go through, make sure I'm understanding each like lecture, assignment, and homework in detail. So I really think that if you take the time earlier on to really just do the hard work and understand the material as well as what's being taught, you'll have a much easier time when it comes to things like midterms and finals. So it paid off for me in the first semester in the finals period, but this semester I'm looking to make sure that it's a smooth process.
Yeah, no, for sure. And just like on that tangent, what would be like your general advice for people entering college and like getting used to academic rigor? Obviously, like each college is different as we've established, but just in your experience, like what would be the biggest tips to succeed in classes based on the transition between high school to college?
So one thing that's actually helped me a lot in the past like year, actually a year, has been making a to-do list. So I know it sounds very rudimentary and sort of simple, but I just make a to-do list of all the things I need to do in that day. So it could start off with something as simple as doing the laundry or something like getting a meal with a certain friend. But then it also extends to things like watch ec lecture, do math homework assignment, and like it ends up being a list of like maybe even 20 to 30 things a day that you need to do. But it's kind of satisfying to just X out that specific number and keep on moving to the next one. And it sort of makes you a little bit more productive. So that's one thing that I've been doing. And then another thing that's also really helped has been studying with friends. So I used to be like a complete individual learner, and like I used to just hate being around people when I studied. So I would go lock myself up in a little cubby in a library and sort of just sit down and try to do work. But oftentimes what happened was I would just be doing absolutely nothing. Like I would just be, oh, let me go look at this YouTube video about something completely random. And then it would just be like 1 hour later, oh, I've done absolutely nothing. But one thing that's really helped me is actually just being around people. So I'm less tempted in any way to get distracted, and I can still just be around people that I love. So it's really been a good experience for me, good learning, and learning how I can be productive. So I know for every single person it's different, but take the time to think about what environment that you are most productive in, and then try to position yourself in it so that you are in a like area to succeed.
Yeah, no, I definitely resonate with that. And I'm sure that is very valuable advice for anyone who is listening. So that was all of my questions. Thank you, Praveen, for being on the podcast again. I really appreciate it. Do you have any last thoughts or comments you would like to share? If not, we can end it. But anything else on your mind?
Yeah, I think the last thing that I'll say, and I guess my closing message will be, don't be afraid. So the 2 months leading up to college, I was really scared. I was scared I won't have friends. I was scared I wouldn't succeed academically. I was like scared like just of life in general and what was ahead of me. And like there were so many unknowns. But as long as you trust yourself in the senses that you work hard, you're a good, nice person, and that you'll continue to like strive to be the best version of yourself, then you have nothing to worry about. And I know that's hard, especially if you're like a senior or junior high school, like scared of like what's ahead. But I know words might not make it better, but just trust me, you do not have anything to be afraid of, and you will succeed as long as you're true to yourself. And I guess that's what has worked for me and for people like Sam and countless other people. It'll all work out in the end.
Very comforting words and very true words from Praveen. All right, thanks again.
Thank you.